Today's guest is Luke Hill. He's a senior partner at Joseph Chris Partners Executive Search. So, Luke, thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so I really like the topic, that you're sort of expert in, which is sort of recruiting and people. I'm always trying to understand that better. Um, when did this start for you?
Yeah, so I guess my construction recruiting career began little over 5 years ago. Shortly after I got out of the Marine Corps. In the Marine Corps, I was doing chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear defense. Which, unless you're working for a three-letter agency or even some fire departments, it doesn't necessarily translate super easily into the civilian world. So
Wait a minute though. I'm curious now. When you're training for things that you hope never happen, how do you kind of put people in the right mindset? Because, you know, they know it's not real, but how do you sort of, put that training and create that environment?
the most effective tool I think we have with it is the one most people know us for in the military, and that's the tear gas chamber. Um, the whole purpose of the tear gas chamber in the military is to show you how to use your chemical protective equipment and to show you that it works. And if people aren't listening to us inside that chamber, they're going to inhale a lot of that tear gas and start choking. And um, I would tell everybody at the start of every briefing before we went into the chamber for training. I'd tell them all instructions will come from the center of the room. You will hear everything you're supposed to do come from me. You will listen to all instructions that I give you, because if you do not, you're going to inhale tear gas. You're going to start choking. You're going to cry, and I'm going to laugh. And I did. It happened a lot. And it's basically the whole point of it was to tell people, hey, listen, your mask works. Just breathe. And they breathe, and wow, okay. You show them how to get anything out of it when they first put it on, and tell them, okay, take your deep breaths, and they're fine. And they realize that. And that's the whole point of it. It's to tell you, hey, you're going to live, you're going to survive. Uh, and to get them to take that seriously of, hey, that's exactly how you do that in the real world. How much of it sticks is, anyone's guess. But yeah, that's what we did, and it was a lot of fun. I mean, the gas chamber days were a great time, and it's I think every time I encounter a veteran outside of the military now, and I'm talking to them about what I did, they're like, "Oh yeah, you were the gas chamber guy. Man, I really hated you guys."
So,
And
from going from
yeah.
that to recruiting, what was it like?
Yeah, so the biggest translatable skill set I think for me was that within that job in the Marine Corps, our focus was on teaching these high level topics and very specific threats and all kinds of crazy complex information to different groups of people, whether that's a bunch of trigger pulling gun bunnies, as you call them, the infantry, or whether it's a room full of generals and colonels. So being able to communicate that diverse, or that complex info to a diverse group of people has been extremely useful within the recruiting space, because we might be dealing with a superintendent on a job site one day and a CEO the next. You got to
Yeah.
be able to kind of it's again it just it you got to be able to communicate with them and kind of meet them where they are.
Sure. What are the tips? Like obviously communicating complex things. I mean, we come across. What are the things you have to be careful of when you're doing that?
Yeah, it can be really easy to try to get too far down a rabbit hole or get too specific. Um, there's a lot of times too in recruiting that people will start kind of filling in blanks on their own, and it's easy to kind of just, yeah, 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 that's exactly right. And it's, you never want to, not overshare, but you don't want to share information that you're not entirely sure on. It can be easy to just kind of get caught up in a conversation and just kind of roll with the flow, and it's you definitely don't want to promise something that's not true. Um, yeah, and it's one big thing in recruiting too is there's a lot of people that have the tendency to just kind of blast and word vomit everything about the job they're recruiting for right at the outset, and they're not really getting to know that person. They're not really getting to feel them out and see, hey, are they a good, are they somebody who's going to align well with the mission and the values, and you're not getting to learn what's important to them to make sure that not just, yeah, this person can do the job, but will they be happy where they're going?
Yeah. And how do you assess potential?
Potential. You know, what it really comes down to, it's whenever I talk with any new potential employer to work with, to support a search for, I always ask them, tell me about what makes somebody successful on your team. You know, the person behind the resume. I can find you the superintendent or the project manager who's got the right project background, but I want to know too, what are the motivators you look for in this person? What are some of those behaviors and indicators? What is your core values and your culture look like? And then you ask questions around those without giving everything up front of, hey, this company is driven by family and work life balance and whatever. Because when you tell them that, it's you're, and then you turn around and ask them what's important to you, they're going to feed you right back those exact same answers. Um, it's just about asking the right questions and knowing truly what's important on both sides of the table.
Yeah. When you ask that question, what, in your opinion, what's the best answer that you've ever gotten?
Best answer I've ever gotten when asking a candidate or asking a client?
Client.
Asking a client, what's the person behind the resume? I have one general contractor I work with in Central Texas. I do a ton of work with them. I think in the last 2.5 years, there's not been a single time that I didn't have at least one open role with them. And they are very, very core values driven, very aligned to that. Their people are the pulse of everything they do. And the first words out of their CEO's mouth and the our initial call was when I asked him that question. He said, "I want someone who is serving our purpose and commitment to excellence." He's like, "And I need someone who, it's not that he was looking for a yes man, but he said, I need somebody who adds to the culture, who has the same goals for our organizational growth and for developing new talent. I think we were looking at that time for a senior superintendent, and he said, "I want someone who is a high level guy in the industry, been around doing it for guy or gal, but been doing it for a long time, and is passionate about taking all of that knowledge and everything they've learned and creating a whole bunch more of themselves on the team who can continue with their legacy, looking for someone who wants to really leave that indelible mark." Um, and they've done a great job of it. Makes hiring for them a little tricky sometimes when you're doing that because it takes your pull from, hey, this is the right project lists to these are the people that value it, but that's who you want. That's who's going to drive that growth. Uh, I find that a lot with companies utilizing systems like Traction and EOS and that are really well aligned with that, where they've got that kind of strategic growth plan that's in place of like, where are we in 1, 3, 5, 10, 15 years? Um, and that they have that where it's open, transparent, and aligned throughout the whole company. I find that they're typically the ones who have the best answers to those questions because they know exactly what they want.
Yeah. And when you hear things that maybe aren't aligned, how do you address it?
Yeah, so I can share one even recently. We had a company that it's when you ask me that, sorry, I guess I got started out there a little quick. Are you talking things that don't align with us, or when I hear the answers from the candidates that don't align with that value, with that mission set?
It's either or, but align with you.
So if I'm talking with a client and I ask them about their culture and it's something that doesn't align with me, one that I heard recently, there was a developer I was speaking with who said that just because of who we are as a company, one thing that turns some of our potential PMs and APMs off is that we don't just give trust inherently. People have to come in and earn it from us, and it's something that, it's built over time. So it turns people off because they feel like they're kind of being micromanaged a little, and they are. And I said, that's a big challenge for a lot of talent, and especially young talent too. It's not, which is what they were looking for at the time. They want people who are going to come in and, you can look at their past performance and know, hey, you're a high performer. We're going to turn this over to you. We're here for, we'll teach you how we do things, but you're empowered, and you're that, that leader of the project. And she said it turns people off, and that they are not the highest paying group in the world either, and that, hey, we think people just really got to earn their stripes before they get to there. And it just, something about it wasn't sitting right. And I was, well, it's, I don't know that we're the right fit to support you. I wish you all the best on this search, but you know again, best of luck. That this is where we part ways.
Yeah. I mean, you talked about EOS and alignment and all that stuff, but besides that, I mean, what are the companies that you find do the best in terms of attracting talent?
Yeah, so I've actually I put a post out on LinkedIn about it a while back about what I call a company, and it's the companies that, whatever that value, so whether it's a formal thing like EOS or Traction or whatever, but those companies that have something in place that is the, hey, here is where we are headed as an organization. Uh, they've got a vision for growth. They've got a strategy to get there, and everybody from the front desk receptionist to the CEO knows it, communicates it, and believes in it. Uh, that is contagious, and it when people go through that process, it is very apparent to them. And if it's something that they believe in and want to be a part of, it hooks them instantly. And if it's not, they know pretty quickly as well that, hey, I'm not going to be the best fit. And that's, again, that's a good thing. It's okay for there to be these kind of polarized reactions, I think, within organizations.
Yeah.
Um, that's one of them. People, you know, valuing your people legitimately, not just lip service. Uh, Living core values, not just having them as, words on the wall behind you when you're doing a video call with somebody to interview. um, those are really the biggest things. And then obviously, there's money and everything, and people paying the right things, and
Yeah.
there's a lot that goes into it. And it's pretty apparent pretty quickly when you start working with a company if they're really who they say they are. And yeah, the ones that live it and breathe it, and they abide by it every single day, those are the organizations that are winning.
Yeah. Tell me about your podcast.
Yeah, so our podcast, it's called Off the Hook with Erica and Luke. I host it with one of our managing directors here, Erica Lockwood. Uh, we were talking earlier in the year just about how, hey, we have all these conversations all day, every day with people across the construction industry. Um, why not create a platform for them to tell us about themselves, their journey, how they got to where they are, and for these executives, give them a chance to shamelessly plug their organizations. And it's been a lot of fun. We've had some great people on. We've got some more upcoming interviews, and even next week we're releasing one with two of our internal partners here who they just both crossed their 1 year threshold with us. So we're, hey, tell us what you've learned in your time here. What brought you here? What's keeping you here? And um, it's been a lot of fun, as I'm sure it's podcasting. It's not easy, but it's valuable and it's worth it. And we've built some great connections.
Yeah. And I think you kind of have a fishing analogy.
Yeah, so I have referred to I am the self-proclaimed fishing recruiter because last year, actually, I'm coming up just about on 1 year of these videos. I decided I was going to do something really, really silly called From the Dock Friday. Uh, our office is here in or Kingwood, Texas, rather, just north of Houston, on Lake Houston. And so, about 100 yards behind me, straight through that wall, is a little fishing dock. I come out here early every single day because ever since I could hold a rod, I've been fishing. And I come out early every day so that I can do a little bit of fishing before work, and it's a good chance to kind of clear my mind and just think some things through. And there was one morning I was out there and having some thoughts about the industry, and I can't remember how it started, but I pulled my phone out and started recording it and started up this from the Doc Friday segment. And so I was on the phone with a candidate one time shortly after that, and hey, this is Luke Hill at Joseph Chris Partners, and he goes, "Are you that fishing recruiter?" And it just kind of stuck. So when we were coming up with names for the podcast, we wanted to kind of make a play on words for it. And so we picked Off the Hook because it's got the fishing connotation, but then there's also the phones are off the hook. We're always talking with somebody, and so our phone is not on the hook at that time. And that's our kind of our little double play there.
Yeah. What can fishing teach you about or how to operate business?
Fishing can teach you a lot about business. I've joked that eventually I will take all of my From the Dock Friday posts and pull them out and write it and expand upon everything in them, and there'll be a book called, Fish Tales or something like that. And I am totally not committed on that right now, but who knows, maybe one day. But what it can teach you, I think, for one, just with fishing at all, it's patience. You're going to sit in the boat all day every year. If you're doing an all day trip, you'll sit there and you might not get a bite until you're on your way uh, back into the launch. Um, One thing I've joked around about a lot too is that one of the biggest lies fishermen tell is that we always say, okay, just one more cast, and then we throw and we don't get a fish, so just one more cast, and then same, and keeps going. Then finally you get one and you land them and it's great and you're excited. So, oh, I'm just going to do one more, see if I can get another, and then you're out there another hour and a half, 2 hours, and yeah, that's one. And for me, that's talking about tenacity and just that you got to keep getting up to the plate. Um, Yeah, I mean, I went full bore with it one time on the from the Doc Friday video, completely cheesy, talking about talent acquisition because I think there's a you know, huge parallels there, and said, you've got to have the right bait, you've got to have the right hook, you got to have a strong enough line, and you need that right net man standing there to net the fish when you get it up to it, and there's it was really, really cheesy, really goofy, but it's just amazing some of the things that'll come out there because I'm trying to get myself in the work mindset while also like watching splashes, trying to, okay, well, I know the fish are there, and you know, it's just there's something new every week that pops in, and I try to keep it new. It's not always directly related to fishing. Sometimes I'm just, this morning I talked about having a dream is still hey, it's important and valuable to have that to chase that carrot at the end of the stick, I guess, for yourself. Um, have
There
that internal motivation.
there you go. Is there anything I did not ask you, but you wanted to share?
Um, I guess just man, I can't really think of anything specific. I guess I can share, in addition to our construction recruiting services, which is what we do here specifically. Actually, I'll elaborate on that because I didn't talk a whole lot about it. Joseph Chris Partners, we are specialized in the construction industry. We do both residential and commercial. I've got a huge focus in the commercial space with general contractors, subcontractors, really kind of whatever. Um, Supporting hiring of anything from like project leadership up through the C-suite executives. But that's Joseph Chris Partners, and then in addition to our recruiting services, I am the director of our Veteran Talent Services program, which is focused on partnering with construction companies to connect veterans and opportunities within the industry, help grow both. I think it could be a huge piece of some of this talent gap we've got.